I was just wondering what your views are on the transatlantic long-haul flights.
Tiring.
Low cost.
Expensive.
Yeah, but the low cost.
No, I know what you mean. I've been watching two different trends in the industry, which is to take the current long-haul business model, which is usually dividing a bigger aircraft into three classes, and either take it to all economy or all business, or all first class, actually, one example. I'm pessimistic about the chances of success of either of those extremes, in the sense that I'm not a great believer in long-haul flying. I think the profitable opportunity is in the short flights, like EasyJet. But if I had to design one, I would probably make it look like Virgin Atlantic, where there is a very good business class with a flatbed, where people pay way over the odds for that convenience to sleep on a plane, and that subsidizes the back, where there's generally a sort of an abundance of frills, because if you're going to be stuck on the damn thing for 12 hours, you begin to value them. The entertainment, the food, all of these things begin to acquire a different value in the mind of the consumer once you go over 7 hours. Under 3 hours, they're irrelevant almost. There's a gray area in the middle. I think the all economy flights will not be as cheap as the back of the plane on a full service airline, because they haven't got the premium to subsidize it. The all business airlines are not cheaper than the front of the plane. Their cost base is higher because they're using a smaller aircraft, and they have an awful lot of seats to fill. EOS, which is the first class example, flies an aircraft with, I think, 45 or 50 seats in first class. That's quite a lot more than what British Airways has in first class on most of its planes. So it has to find an awful lot of people every time that plane takes off to fill those first class seats. And why would people switch? You have to give them huge discounts, and you haven't got the cost advantage to give discounts. So I'm not optimistic about either of those models. There was a question right next to you, actually.
Thank you. Good evening, Marilyn Devenish from Transformations Limited. I work as a coach and a hypnotherapist, so I'd like to move away from the business side just for a few moments and really ask, how do you cope with, because you seem really relaxed, easygoing, good sense of humour, so how do you cope with the potential stress of running 17 plus businesses and actually being involved in those businesses? Because I see you as being a big part in what's happening. You're not just standing back and letting it roll. So how do you cope and deal with that?
I actually have an executive coach.
Would you like an extra one?
Well, I don't think I'm going to stand up and tell you that I know how to solve the problem. I go through periods where I'm very stressed and everything else. I suffer from all the anxieties and insecurities and sort of nervous moments that everybody does. By the way, we haven't switched on the booking system on Easy Office, and there's always a moment where I've done it 17 times now and it doesn't get any better, where you switch it on and wait and see if anything happens. And that, in that moment, as an experienced entrepreneur, you can probably tell this is going to be a bloody problem. I have to spend a lot of time fixing this one, or this will take off. and that moment is always stressful. So there are no short answers. But I have actually, once a month I sit down with my executive coach, and he's taught me to. One of the benefits I see in taking advice independent like that is that in my position you have no peers. I mean, there are other entrepreneurs, but they see yourself as a competitor sometimes. Or everybody else is negotiating with you. Everybody else wants something, higher salary, bigger job, more investment in their company, whatever. So you need a sounding board and discuss with someone who is on your side, if you like. So I like the concept of executive coaching. I think it's good for entrepreneurs. Advert for your business, by the way, isn't it? Let's take this one.
You say you get stressful in your business. What's been your worst hour?
Oh, my God. Where do I start?
You have an hour.
September 11th must have come close. I mean, you know, I remember where I was when I heard about, you know, the planes flying into the Twin Towers. I remember the 24 hours that followed that. The share price was trashed. You know, Easy Internet Cafe was losing money. You know, it was possible that one sort of, if you like, sequence of events would have meant that the whole thing would have collapsed. Thank God it didn't, you know. And we survived, and we're here to tell the story. But I remember some of the early days of the airline where I was taking a very hands-on personal interest in what was going on. And for example, on a delayed flight, I had to walk the plane and apologize 150 times. It wasn't pleasant. So I'm not going to go back to running an airline with 2 planes. It's not fun. At least with 135, there's a spare somewhere they can use. Yeah.
Richard Reed, Better Business Magazine. As you said, obviously you had the advantage of your father's money. Most of the people here are probably starting with a very small amount of capital. If you had £50,000 to put into a new business, what would you spend it on?
For that amount of money, I'd definitely go into a franchise. It's just too small today to build a brand and think of a business model and you know, install the systems and everything else. You know, unless you're counting being self-employed consultant as a business in the sense of selling your own time. That probably you can do with 50,000, but you know, 50,000 doesn't get you very long. So look at a franchise.
Do you make investments in new businesses, in other people's businesses?
I've decided, because I'm so diversified and, you know, according to some journalists, thinly spread over 17 businesses, I don't invest outside the brand.
Right, right.
But I'll sell you an Easy Pizza franchise.